Hello and welcome to this video on the toggle view in SwiftUI. This is one of the more basic views that allows the user to switch between two different states. This can be used in a form where the user has to decide between two different options, or it can be used to show conditional content, or even to let the user activate a certain feature or not. We will explore the different ways to configure a toggle, how it behaves on different platforms, and how we can use modifiers to style it. As a bonus, we will also implement a custom toggle view style. Now, for everyone wondering how does this mythical toggle look like, please have a look. Okay, that maybe was not the most spectacular presentation ever, but it will get better in the end of the video, I promise you. So let's get started by having a look at how to create a toggle first. Instead of jumping into the code first, I quickly want to show you how you can get the information necessary to come up with solutions on your own. Here you can see the official documentation from Apple. As you can see, there's a toggle view here, we have a declaration, an overview with some quick code samples, how to style them, and then some initializers, and also the different toggle styles and the modifiers we can apply. I think it's really helpful to see the documentation Apple provides, so I will leave a link in the description of the video. Now let's jump into the code. We will create a new Xcode project, select multi-platform app, give it a name, and hit next. We will save it somewhere and then wait for the project to finish building. Once it finished building, we can first give us some more space to work with, and now we can replace the text with a toggle. As we can see, we can use a string with a Boolean binding to initialize the toggle. Now we can first create a string, which will serve as the description for the toggle. And now we need the binding to a Boolean. So we will create a private state variable, because state should always be private. Calling it is active and setting it to false. And now we can hand this to the Boolean, to the isOn property, with a $sign. If we continue the preview, we will see that we now have, in a second, the wonderful solution we had before in the impressive demo I showed you. So you can see you can toggle it. Active, not active. Active, not active. Sorry. Note that we can also use a localized string here if we use different languages in our app. We also have another initializer available. We can see when we start typing, and we can there see that we can also use a label instead of a string. So let's give that a try. First hand the binding to the Boolean, and now we can create a label here. The label also has different initializers, and we will use the one with the system image. So we can use a string here, and then a system image, for example, the bold one, to show that switching a toggle is really powerful. This right here does not have to be a system image. We can also use any image we like. Now that we have seen how to create a toggle, let's have a look at how we can style them. The first interesting thing is the ToggleStyle modifier, which takes a ToggleStyle as a parameter. This defaults to the DefaultToggleStyle, which takes different forms on different platforms. On iOS, iPadOS, and watchOS, it takes the form of a switch, as we have seen before. On macOS, it will become a checkbox, which is also the only platform where the checkbox style is available. On tvOS, it will become the form of a button. When it comes to further customizing our styles, the only one that allows for some customization is the switch toggle style. So we'll have a look at this now. We have our toggle here. I gave it some padding to make it a little bit nicer on the eye. So what we can do here is to use the toggle style and create a switch toggle style. When we see the only option we have for initialization is the tint option. It takes a color, so let's take orange for example. And now we can start the simulator here to see that this now becomes an orange color. Notice that we can also use the common modifiers as well. So we have the padding already set. We can set a foreground color, for example, make it blue, which we now see here, the text is blue, but the toggle color will stay the same. We can also set this to white and set the background to a color of blue. Now we can see the toggle still exists and we can still use it. We have seen how to create toggles with the different initializers and the different options we have. We've also taken a look at how to customize toggles. However, the customization options are pretty limited. So if we want to achieve cool results, we have to take a look at creating custom toggle styles. Creating custom styles for SwiftUI views can sound pretty intimidating at first. So we will first have a look at the documentation on how to do it, and then start with the implementation. Here we can see the ToggleStyle protocol. When we scroll down, we can see it has a make body function, alright, which takes a configuration, which is of style ToggleStyleConfiguration, which has a isOn property. Well, that makes sense. And a label, which also makes sense. I think we should be able to do this, so let's jump into the code. Before we start, let's have a look at the end result. Here you can see we have this wonderful toggle which has the light mode and the dark mode. It animates smoothly between the different states. And you might think this is pretty complicated to achieve, but I will guarantee you it only takes 19 lines of code. So let's have a look. We have a pretty basic toggle here. It has the state property is light mode enabled and some description text. I also gave it a padding. So let's start off by creating a custom struct, calling it dark mode style, which conforms to toggle style. Now, as we know, we have to create a make body function to create our body. Now let's first think how we will create our toggle. We will have a rectangle which will be the background, and it will be overlaid with our custom image, which will be the sun or the moon, depending on the current state. Now this body will return a rectangle, which we will fill, and we will say configuration.isOn, question mark. So if the configuration is on, it will have the color blue. Otherwise, it will have the color black. Now we will give this an animation. And we first have to create the rectangle actually. And we will now give this an animation of ease in out. So it will smoothly transition between the different states. We will also give this a frame with a width of 160 and a height of 80. And let's resume this preview here to have a look at it. How this looks already. And I know we will also give it a corner radius. Let's say 40. And as we see nothing because we're not applying our style yet. So let's do this. And we can now set the toggle style to use our dark mode style. And as you can see, this looks wonderful, just as we expected. Next, we will create the overlay with the different images. Now let's first have a look at the As If Symbols app. If we are looking for a moon, we can see that we can use this moon.fill symbol. And if we take a look at sun, we see that the sun.max.fill looks like a perfect fit for our use case. So let's do this. Now let's create an overlay here with an image. Now we want to take the system name here. And now depending on the configuration, whether it's on or not, we can now say sun max fill or moon.fill. So we have to make the image resizable in order to set a frame. And I will set the width and the height to 50. I think this will look nice. Let's see. Yeah, looks good. Now we have to change the foreground color. And again, if the configuration is on, so if we are in the active state, we will use a foreground color of color.yellow. Otherwise, we'll use .white. Now we're going to give it a padding of 8 or 16. Yeah, it looks nice. And now one important thing is that we have to show the sun on the right and the moon on the left. So we have to change the offset here. And we will actually only have to change the X offset because we don't want to change it on the Y axis. So again, we have to check, are we in the is on state? Then we will give it an offset of 40. If not, we will take an offset of -40. And as we can already see in the preview, this looks pretty nice. The y-axis will be 0. And now we will only give this the same animation we gave the rectangle. So now we're basically finished, right? Wrong. Let's run this to see what it does. And as we can see, it does nothing. Because the final step we have to take is give this a tap gesture. And now we can here say configuration.isOn.toggle. So if we make this on the same line, we can now see once the preview has done building, that we can now toggle. It will animate smoothly between the different stages, and we have the wonderful result. And as you can see, it only took 19 lines of code here. So this is it. We're done. Great work. I think we deserve to give ourselves a pat on the shoulder. We have learned how to use toggles in this video. We have seen the different initializers and how we can use them to create toggles with text only or even with labels. We've also seen the different styles and how to use modifiers to style our toggles. Finally, we have created our own custom toggle style, which gave us an amazing result with only a few lines of code. I have also linked my blog post on this topic in the description, so if you prefer written content, please take a look at that. There's also links to the documentation from Apple in the description, alongside with a link to a GitHub repo where I share the code I used in this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like the video and subscribe to my channel. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next videos. Have a great day.